Okay, so I've heard a lot of people complaining about the new Halo Online, and I get it. It does have a lot of problems, but I'm of the mind and of the opinion that I don't just want to talk about what's wrong, but how I think it could be fixed to improve it. Mainly because I don't feel like you should just complain and complain about things, but you should also come up with ideas on how to fix it. So here's a couple of my ideas. I feel like they're good ideas, and also some of the ideas the original creators have that I feel like that you should have put back in, but just weren't. And I feel like those could have been things that fix it. And I don't know if they still have plans on going back and adding stuff, but anyway, this is my idea. So first, I don't think I'm going to talk much, if at all, about the prequel missions. They're skippable. They're their own thing. I have a lot of ideas on that, but that might have to be for a different thing. I just mainly want to talk about the base game, mainly because I have a long history of playing Halo Combat Evolved, or Halo CE, just the original one. I don't know why I can't think of its name all of a sudden, but the original Halo, man, I have so many hours on that game, and I remember playing it when I was just a little kid. My older brother brought it home, and we played it together. Good time. So anyway, I'm wanting to just talk first and foremost about the voice acting of the game. I feel like whoever was in charge of the voice acting did a very poor job. They needed to have more than one take. They couldn't just do it all at once. And I think that they really lengthened the voice acting situations. And I think that just comes with a lot of problems. They really weren't thinking too deeply about it. And you can tell that it caused problems. For instance, I just want to talk about the captain. I think there were some things they did good with it and some things they did bad. For instance, I did like the one part where the ship gets hit and the captain stumbles, but the chief is steady. But the chief helps the captain up, but also listens to the captain. It definitely shows a dynamic between the two, and I liked that. However, I don't think the captain should have made such a big deal about his gun. He should have just handed it to the chief and should have just said, hey, give this to my daughter, and said, I don't keep it loaded. That would have been so much more telling, but they just lengthened it too much, put too much into it, and it really kind of brought the whole situation down. I think the idea of giving it to his daughter is great. I think the idea of not keeping it loaded from the original one was great. Those are two really good things that definitely show who the captain is, kind of his things that he likes, but I think they just added too much. Another thing that I really want to talk about is Cortana, and when they did Cortana in this one, they definitely went, and if you've ever played the Legend of Zelda, the Ocarina of Time, you know what I'm talking about. They went the Navi pathway where it talks about everything, interrupts your game, what you're doing, doesn't let you figure out things for your own, and it has been memed so much. Navi has been, and Cortana just expected to become memed just the same. Don't let Cortana trust the chief, just like the developers need to trust the players, right? She, maybe if you're playing on like easy mode, maybe she is kind of more Navi-ish, because on easy mode, hey, or even normal, it's like, hey, you weak person, you can't play this game, right? We're going to handhold you and make sure you get through this. But when you get to veteran status, stop putting up the waypoints. Stop doing all that stuff. It is completely unnecessary. You no longer need to be held if you're playing something like what is it? I know legendary, but is it hardcore? I can't remember. Or hard, doesn't matter. But anyway, something like that. You can't just continue to hold people's hands all the time. You're just bringing down the whole experience so much. So, like for instance, and this is just a really good example. In the original, when you're playing on easy or normal, you get to the hallway where there's all the Covenant out there in the hallway, and if you go straight through, you're going to get shot, you're going to get killed pretty quickly, pretty easily, especially if you're on one of those normal, easier levels, and because there's just a lot of people there. And so on normal or easy, she's like, hey, let's go around. And then she teaches you how to open up the door by hitting it. And all these things, then you learn that you can hit things. That's great storytelling. But if you play it on the higher levels, all of a sudden they're not telling you that at all. All of a sudden instead, they're like, hey, they don't say anything. They just say there's more elites up ahead. That's it. That's all they say. And all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, I know there's more elites up ahead because, I could see in the bottom right-hand corner my little sensor telling me so. And so all of a sudden you don't need that information. And so that's something they should have done. If they want to add in all that stuff, they can add in all that stuff, but it should have been for the easy people. It's just ridiculous that they decided to put it in for everyone. So anyway, now I want to talk about the AI of the enemies. If you've ever played the original Halo, you know the blue elites suck, the red elites are hard, and the gold elites are tactical and mean as a bunch of hornets. They point you out if they hadn't spotted you and you have just shown up. They're like, hey, there he is. But otherwise, they are constantly on the go. They do not wait around for you. They are expecting you. They're shooting in your general position. If you leave that position, they didn't see you do that, they will keep shooting at that position, waiting for you to come out. If you shoot them until their shields go down, they do exactly what you do when your shields go down. You find cover. They do the same. They don't stand up and they go, "Rah!" Oh man, I cannot tell you how much I did not like that in Halo Reach. I don't know why they did it in Halo Reach, and I don't know who thought that. Maybe it was some sort of limitation they had. Like they couldn't, for some reason, make it do the same, or like they're like, oh man, there's so many elites. We got to make them easier somehow now that there are so many. But they didn't increase the number of elites in here, so there was no reason for them to do that. So I think they should have really made the elites more like the original elites, because those elites, they were hard, they were mean, and they were brutal to fight against. Now they're just like, well, it's okay. We'll just make them do what they did in Halo Reach. No, don't do that. And I think maybe in Halo Reach you can kind of excuse, maybe a lot of those elites hadn't been in battle before, but now they've just come out of Reach and now they're chasing after you. They've been in battle. Maybe now they know that, hey, being all up and big and loud does not help them. So instead they realize that, and they've seen other Spartans who hid when their shields went down. They're like, hey, that's a really good idea. And they've learned and they've modernized. That could be a really good excuse for why they're not trying to do that anymore. But no, they are very much steady, and they are doing what they did in Halo Reach. Not a great idea. These elites need to be a lot more intelligent. I think the grunts were fine, whatever. I did like the fact that they put in that the grunts, after the people die, let's see, how should I say this? They decide to turn on a couple of grenades and run at you. I think that's cool. The fact that they're willing to give up everything because of their religious sort of ingrained ideas that, hey, we're going to take this guy out no matter what it takes. Another thing that I think that should have changed is the jackals. They were incredibly athletic the further on you went in the games, but they're kind of back to what they were like before, which was a limitation of the hardware at the time. But I definitely think the jackals should be more athletic. They should be able to run. I also think that maybe one way that you can make that fair is like if the jackals are slow, that means they have their shield out. But if they're running and trying to get around you, maybe they take their shield down and they run and they sprint. I think that would be really cool. There's things that you could have put in here that they just chose not to. I don't know why. Now the guns in here are fine. I've heard people complain about the needler thing. I think it's dumb, kind of, but I don't know. Maybe the grunts are so dumb, they're like, hey, let's put on an extra thing so the grunts know. But I don't think it was necessary. I think the assault rifle should have had the 60 bullets, I don't think you should get a skull to increase your bullets. I think you should get a skull to decrease your bullets, because I think that would be a much better situation. Also, it's bugged, so it's not great anyway. You really should have tested it out a bit more. Running, I think there was a reason why there wasn't running in the standard in the original game, but I think that they could have put it in and they could have made it work. But if they were going to do that, I think they should have play tested it so much. It should have been an aggressive play testing sort of situation. I don't even know if they have play testers anymore, but if they do, then they should have had more play testers. Mainly because, and they should have play tested on different versions, different things like that, because you want to see how are they going to break my game, because you want to see if that's fun. Hey, they broke my game in a fun way, or hey, they broke my game and it lessened the fun. Because you want to check both of those things, because if you're going to lessen the fun, then you don't want to do it. But if you're going to play test it and it improves the fun, then you're like, yeah, but they didn't. You can tell that they didn't by the way that the game plays. It's just not great. They need that fierce, harsh feedback, because like if they'd had playtesters, it was like, hey, I am playing on legendary here, and I was able to take out all these guys by just running around, and they never could shoot me because I was too fast for them to hit me. All of a sudden you're like, oh man, that's a problem. Maybe running is not a great idea. So it needed more playtesting. I do like the idea that you get hit out of running if you get hit or things like that. But I mean, it's a problem. It needed to be playtested more. Yeah. So in the original, all the soldiers this is another thing that I think really needed to be updated. So in the original game, all the soldiers in the escape pod died because they couldn't quite get the pathing down. So in the original, there's that bridge that you have to cross, and the original Marines couldn't cross that bridge. So they're like, well, let's just kill them all. That was such a poor idea to keep that in. You need to keep most of those Marines alive. Maybe kill the pilot, because how are you going to take the pilot along with you? And maybe have, depending on the difficulty, have a certain number of people alive. But in this one, yeah, it's like, why didn't we keep them alive this time? We don't have an excuse anymore. We just wanted them to die because that's what happened in the original. No, update that. Make it better. These are things that you should have updated. Also, another thing, they originally were going to have blind wolves and stuff in the game, aggressive animals. Oh man, that would have been so great. Maybe you did survive. Maybe some of the Marines are waiting around the pod with you, but maybe some of the Marines went off. And when you go to find the Marines, maybe they've gotten killed by these blind wolves. That would have been a great, great storytelling. If you've seen the updated ones, I don't remember who does them, but he does a great job, and he updates the game and shows all the stuff that would have been in the original. That would have been great, because also when you think about it, think about the animals that could have existed on the ring, and think about how those animals would look or behave when they're infested as wildlife flood. They would have been more aggressive. Oh my goodness, you could have had such a varied existence of flood forms that would have been absolutely terrifying. You see those blind wolves, they are trying to dodge your bullets or hide, or if you shoot at them, maybe they run away, maybe they don't even come after you, because they're terrified of you, or maybe they do run after you because they hear you shooting, but they still try to dodge and they still try to do things like that. But then think about the flood ones, they don't care anymore and they're just going to come straight at you. That would be way cool. But anyway, let's be done with that. Let's talk about graphics. I think that playtesting should have caught most of the graphical things. I think they should have tested on a bunch of different systems, but I do have seen a lot of glitches and things where the graphics just don't look good, and they really should have, if it was going to turn out that way, it would have been something that, honestly, if I was the lead of this, I would say we need to delay it. We can't release it like this. It looks terrible. But they were like, nah, just ship it. It's not a good idea, and it kind of tells me, hey, this is just a cash grab. We don't care, and that is bad. You can't not care about something because no one else will. Now, I also want to talk about models. I didn't mind so much the The captain, I do think that replacing some of the characters to remove the original models was a bad choice. But I'm not too hung up on it. I think they did it out of ignorance, not necessarily ideals. But I do want to talk about two very specific people. The first one being Sergeant Johnson. Okay, they had a perfect Sergeant Johnson in the Halo 2 Remastered. Look at Halo 2 Remastered, look at him, and make him. Don't make Sergeant Johnson Steve Harvey. Make him something better, something bigger. Make him have that hat, that mustache, everything, but do not make him have the Steve Harvey mustache. It took, oh my goodness, every single time I see him, I only think of Steve Harvey. I'm like, oh, was he going to tell me about Family Feud here? I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but whoever it was either was trying to make a joke, which doesn't land because it takes me out of the game so harshly, or they were trying to do something. It didn't work. Stop it. Stop it. Don't do that. Also, Cortana, I know there's been a lot of people who have made fun of this. It's not great. Look at Halo 2 Remastered again. Use that. My goodness, you already have the two perfect ones right there. I love the Halo 2 Remastered. The characters that they put in there, nearly perfect. I love what they did with almost every single one of them. And then they're like, hey, we got a new Halo 1 come out. Let's do something different again. No, you have it. You have it. Stop it. Just do it. Okay, now the biggest problem. This is the biggest one. I'm going to talk about it most. The theology of Halo 2, especially the Covenant's theology and everything they do, is so perfect. Or that you see in Halo 2 and Halo 1, so perfect. The way that they slip things in, the way that you can tell that the prophet of truth is always lying, things like that. Like, it's so great. But like in this one, there's a lot of problems. So you need to have your creatures using their religious dogma to their advantage and use it in an intellectual manner. So like, why are they doing this, right? Why are they being this way? Well, the religious dogma makes them that way, and the way that they act is making them that way. So one thing that I noticed is like the elites and stuff, like watching different playthroughs and stuff, will sometimes call you a heretic. Now that means that you've fallen away from their teachings. But the problem is, Chief never believed the covenant. He was never there when it was made. He was never part of it. So you can't call him a heretic. Now, if you had instead called him a barbarian, a heathen, a pagan, an infidel, something like that, my goodness, that would have been great. Have him call him those sorts of names. Why? Because it has a very negative connotation. It shows that they are killing you, not because they think that you've fallen away from their religion, which, yeah, that happens in reality, but they're killing you because you are not choosing to believe in their religion. And that, oh my goodness, that is very personal. They're like, hey, you don't believe in what we believe, so we're killing you. That is a very powerful thing that could have been used there. They're killing you because of religion, not in spite of religion. A few negative words that they throw out there aren't going to matter. I know that they're dumbing this down and they're not using those words because they don't want to have those sorts of words that are used in our religious sort of fighting stuff that's going on today being used in their game. But don't do that. You need to have these guys make the anger that these guys are showing to you feel personal. You've personally insulted them because you don't believe their religion, and the prophets have basically said that these guys are not choosing to believe our religion, and they'll kill you because of their zealous anger, not any other reason. Now, speaking of religious stuff, I just want to point this out. In the original prequel missions, and I know I said I wasn't going to talk about them, but I want to bring this up. So the brutes are given a rage suppressor. Holy crap, what a dumb idea. Because you could have taken this and not given them a rage suppressor. You could have given them a rage enhancer. Oh my goodness, could you imagine how much difference that makes? Instead of them having to lower their rage so that they can think logically and stuff like that. No, 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 no. Have them increase their rage. Why? Because they are so willing to serve their religious ideals that they take their intellect, dump it, throw it away, and attack you relentlessly in a maddened state, knowing there's probably no way to come back because of their beliefs. Now that sounds terrifying. They're willing to do everything they can to win this war. And oh, maybe that is too representative of the people who wear vests, so you can't do that. No, don't be an idiot. This is a war. The Covenant are winning because they are willing to do whatever it takes. They don't care about the losses. They're willing to do whatever it takes to win. And that's what they want. Their religious situation needs to be realized. They don't care how they kill. They will do anything to maintain their lives, only insofar that it helps them to maintain their religious superiority. So in other words, they're only going to stay alive so that they can kill you. If they can't kill you, then they're going to play dirty. They're going to do everything they can. They're going to do what they need to in order to win. And that is missing. You feel it missing. They're basically, let me put it like this way. The Covenant seem more akin to religious adherence because they want to look cool. No, these people are in a death cult. They're willing to drink the Kool-Aid. They want to activate the halo. This means they are so zealous that they will do anything to win. They don't abandon the halo when the flood appear, which would be the logical thing to do. You pull back, you blow up the ships, you blow up everything that they could get off, and you think about it for a bit. And you're like, well, what if we glass certain parts of the halo? Will it damage it? You do things like that because otherwise those flood are going to get off. So you stick around. That would have been the smart thing to do. But instead, what they're doing instead is they're killing off humanity. They're doing everything. They're killing off the flood. Why? Because this is a sacred religious artifact. They're not living because they believe this is something that is their birthright. Technically, it's your birthright, but they don't know that. And I would imagine that would be... Anyway, we'll talk about that in a bit. But they don't abandon it because of what it is, right? They're willing to do whatever it takes. And that would be actually really cool. And we know that this happens in the beginning of Halo 2. The Covenant have all shown up to the destroyed Halo, and they're there basically to... they're there to basically claim it, right? But when they get there, it's already destroyed, which is a problem for them. So it should be really strange to the Covenant that the humans are like able to utilize all this technology that they're unable to, this Forerunner technology, because you are Forerunner, and I don't care what Halo 4 says, because Halo 4 in my mind doesn't exist. So, they probably think that, hey, they have to get rid of you because somehow you're able to interact with their religious things. That's what the prophets are thinking. But a normal Covenant was probably thinking, like, hey, wait a minute, what in the world is going on? So they've kind of whipped these guys up into a religious fervor in order to get rid of you and everyone like you, so that they can utilize, or they can pretend like they're the ones who can utilize the halo or things like that. But anyway, I think the theology removal and dumbing down is a huge disservice to the game. I think it removes a major part of why wars happen. And I mean, this is a game that should fundamentally be about war, and it's not. So that's my thoughts on the theology of it. I love the theology of Halo. I love everything that's going on there. So dumbing it down is just a slap in the face. Don't dumb it down. Heighten it. Make it even stronger. This would be great. Like, let's say in the gameplay, like they start talking about how in this the prophets are coming, and so everyone, all the elites and all the people are just getting so excited to welcome the prophets and stuff like that. Oh my goodness, could you imagine the type of fervor that they would... That's why they're fighting. You understand? Hey, that's why they're willing to sacrifice their lives to try to get rid of the flood, destroy all these proto-grave mines that exist. they're literally hunting them down so that when the prophets get there, they can present a nice, clean, and beautiful halo instead of one that's being overrun by the flood. So, let's talk about the flood. I do like the idea of perfection forms showing up and attacking. I think things would be slightly different. I think your first encounter should be about the same. I think 343 Guilty Spark is hard to mess up. So, I mean, it would be hard to do. I think the only things that you should maybe update a little bit is maybe you should see like a beginning of a grave mine being formed somewhere in this facility. Maybe you could see it through like a doorway or something, like one of those closed doorways, and you see it in there being built. And then immediately after seeing it, you go down the lift, and then you start to see the guys holding guns. And if you know what you're looking at, then you know why it's happening, right? You could see something like that, but they don't really put that in, and I think that's just their loss. And maybe like as you're going along on your next mission, maybe in the library, maybe they've already built like a proto-grave mine, and maybe 343 Guilty Spark could even mention it. Hey, that's like the brain of the flood or something like that, and not say anything else about it. But what you could do is maybe you could take your time and like fight off the flood that are in the area and torch it, right? And then after you torch it, maybe you've seen like perfection forms before, but all of a sudden after you torch it, you don't see any perfection forms for quite a while until like 343 Guilty Spark says, oh hey, yeah, your efforts were so futile because you burned it. Now they just built it back. Because imagine how cool that would be. You would understand that the flood evolved as they are improving and building these things, right? So I think that should be something that, is mentioned. Instead of like what Guilty Spark says, I do not think he should have mentioned about cleansing or I don't remember what he says, like because it definitely alludes to the fact he needs to appear insane and like he doesn't really care. This is very flippant for him. He's lived so long at this time that he's like, oh, it's all going to work out type of a thing because we're just going to activate the halo and everything's going to be fine. And they take away so much by making him talk too much about things. But I also think, and going back to this, if we've seen these smaller grave mines before, when we get to the captain, it would make it so much more intense having seen them before and seeing captain in one now. Could you imagine how intense that would be, knowing that this is how the grave mine is made? They're basically taking the smartest minds or the higher up people and they're using them in this way. And also I think, and I don't know why they didn't do this, but I do think that you should still smash his head in. Put the poor captain out of his misery. And I think that that's why Chief did it in the original, is because, not only do you need the things, but you also need to put the captain and get him out of his misery, right? And oh man, this would be so cool. And limitations before basically stopped you from doing this, but immediately after you do this, I think that you're just going to leave, and because that after you destroy this, they're just going to rebuild it again, as maybe shown before. But as you're going to leave, have the elites that are coming in, maybe have them talk about getting rid of this, burning it, and stuff like that. Could you imagine how cool that would be? They're not here. I mean, it seemed like in the original they're here to take back over the control room, but have them you could have them voice that, but you could also have them realize and come with like so many more troops. Like, you cannot get out of this room because not only are they here, but also the flood have been tracking them coming here, and so they are ready to defend this as well. And you could have made this such a big battle. You could have so many things going on. But because there's no limitations anymore. In the original Halo, there were limitations to the hardware. There is none now. We have a point that is not the case. You could have had such an intense battle in this room, because it's a big room too. And you could even increase the size of this room by like tearing out a few of the walls, like from where the flood maybe tore it out, and are like trying to basically run the ship. But yeah, it could have been so intense here. But anyway, Let's talk about other encounters you could have made great. I think when you first come up out of the underground and you're getting into the final canyon, you should have had so many massive battles going on there. Like the entrenched Covenant position. That was so cool, but you should have made that bigger. You should have made there be people on ghosts. You should have made tanks. You should have made banshees. You should have made floods. You should have made perfection forms. Heck, maybe, and I know that this was something that was scrapped, but maybe you could have taken the Halo 2 idea of a walking proto-grade mine and you could have stuck that on the battlefield. Could you imagine seeing something like that walking around? Maybe if you wait long enough and like the Covenant just keep winning and winning and winning, all of a sudden a big old proto-grade mine comes and that thing's not messing around and he starts just weighing lace to those things. Man, that would have been so cool. But no, they kept it the same. That's something you should have improved. You should have done that better. Also, another one that I can think of is when you're fighting on that bridge and like all the Covenant are on your side and the Flood are on the other. Could you imagine how much better you could have made that one with like a bunch of stationary guns, all sorts of things, and just having explosions going off left and right, Flood jumping on, Flood coming out of doorways, and the Covenant just like fighting for their lives on this bridge? That would have been so neat. But like, I don't know why they didn't do that. They kept it the same. And I don't get it. I don't get why the battles that could have been so much bigger, like your Marines, you could even have Marine and Covenant battles be massive, and Marines driving in tanks, Marines and Warthogs already fighting like a massive Covenant force. Like those could have been things that could have existed and it could have felt so cool, but they're all none of it happens. It's just all the same. And so final point that I just want to say is like the final battle where there's that huge battle between the Flood and the Covenant, and it isn't even that big of a battle, let's be honest. It's pretty small. If you could have made that bigger, oh my goodness, seeing you slip through hordes of like those Flood, the tanks, the banshees, everything that's there. And then you could have even thrown sentinels in there as well. You could even throw in the big sentinels from Halo 2, because those come out when like the Flood infection is getting just way big, and you could have thrown them out here, and it would have been such a perfect sort of situation. Scrap it all. It's all gone. Couldn't do that. Couldn't make it better. No, just make it the same. oh man. I had such high hopes for this, and it just kind of failed at every turn when could have made things better. Anyway, last thing that I want to say, I know I said I have one final point, but one more final point with the Flood, that I think they should have just made it so that you could have seen things get infected. Oh my goodness, when I saw that in Halo 3 for the first time, I was like, oh, it's so cool and sick at the same time. And they just didn't do it. Once the grave mines get to a certain point, I think that should have been something that should have been happening, but they didn't put any of it on. I'm gonna just say that this new game could have been everything that we wanted, everything we hoped for, with the graphical fidelity and the hardware to make things great, but they focused too much on the things, and I know someone else said this, and I just want to say it. They focused too much on the things that they should have left, and when they should have focused on the things that they should have changed, and they left those things the same. But anyway, that's it. I also want to thank Hexographer making new maps and stuff right here. If you ever want to have any of my maps that I love to make, right now I'm making this map down below to kind of go along with the story I've been writing. I'm getting to a point where I'm starting to get lost in my own place, so I kind of want to make ideas of like where everything is. But anyway, if you want to hear about that, just leave me a comment. Hope you have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.